Okay, and before we get started, you can on the website, you can on the consultation form where we start recording training sessions, Zoom sessions, and consultations.
Sure.
Alrighty, so it seems like a
Remy.
friendly pup, just needs obedience.
He is, yeah. And I think I really made the appointment because I was intrigued by the e-collars.
Okay.
And he was jetting on us.
Sure.
So he was just starting to run. And he, honestly, made this appointment a while ago. So since I got him neutered, it has been better.
Mm-hmm.
He's not running off,
Mm-hmm.
and he listens, but not as well as I'd like. And I definitely want to use the e-collar.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have him off leash when we're playing in the park and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't want that situation to happen again. Maybe it won't happen again. Hey, get back here. Sit, sit, stay. But you know, so that's probably the most worrisome and then he'd look at me and keep going. And I'd chase him, look at me, keep going.
Yeah.
So that was the scary part.
Yeah, because it becomes a game
It does.
for him.
Right.
Yeah, give him a chase.
And same thing with so the only other thing really is, besides this not listening and me not reinforcing it, is same thing when he has a ball, somebody else's ball, like it's a game then, and I can't get it, and then I'll
release.
forever.
Mm-hmm.
So he listens to my husband because my husband will yell in a deep voice, and I've tried that, but he just doesn't seem to listen to me as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else?
No, those are the main things. So it's hopefully it's easy for you.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The biggest thing about the consultation is the e-collar.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of misconceptions of it.
Yep.
So a lot of people are for it, but they just want to learn more about it. So that's, it's kind of explaining things.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the technology of e-collar?
Yeah, so I bought one, I read up on it, I have it on, I've been using it when I go out, but I haven't turned it on.
Okay.
So I'm afraid, I guess I'm just afraid to give it the go, because I'm afraid he's gonna run.
Yes. Do you know what brand and model you have? Yeah, if you bring it up.
Yeah, so he's got the collar on itself, but I brought the device. And I got one mainly just based off distance, thinking, so sport dog.
Okay. So here, this brand is a quote-unquote good brand.
Yeah.
In the sense that the way it's delivered is more of what an e-collar is supposed to be.
Okay.
So you may have heard the term shock collar,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It comes from a couple of places. One, old school e-collars like this one has 7 settings.
Yep.
It might have low, medium, high settings as well.
Okay.
I'm not too sure on that. It depends on the model.
Yeah.
But it has 7. Okay,
Yeah.
so 7 is your max.
Yep.
Old school e-collars had 3 to maybe 5.
Okay.
So the jumps in between were very large.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was like shocking to the dog because they were so abrasive.
Yeah.
Okay. The collar that we use now has 127 settings.
Oh,
okay.
great.
So
Okay.
7 and 127, if you imagine, are the same.
Yeah.
But we have 120 more divisions.
Okay.
So here, let's say you used 4 and 4 made him yelp, but 3 he would ignore.
Yeah.
You're stuck because he's either going to be yelping and listening,
Yeah.
but also kind of paranoid, or 3 not listening and then everything is not non-functional.
Yeah.
Okay. With the 127 settings, 40, 60, 50, 49, 51, 55, I can fine tune it
Yeah.
to the specific dog and personality type. Okay. The other thing is, how big do you expect this guy to get?
So this is a mini, this is probably it.
Okay.
So he's a year and a month,
Is he, what, 40-ish?
45.
45 pounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These collars are really more so meant for 35-pound dogs and under.
Oh.
Okay, that's another thing, is what we have is called output.
Yeah.
Output is how strong is the sensation. So we have 4 particular models that we use.
Okay.
Think of them as like, one is meant for like the baby dogs,
Yeah.
10 pounds and under,
Mm-hmm.
then 35 pounds and under, 70 pounds and under, and then 70 pounds and over.
Okay.
Those are our 4 collar types, okay? So with this guy, the issue you may come across with that collar is you always want to think in an emergency situation.
Right.
Emergency situations that happen to people would be like fireworks is the most common one.
Yeah. We live by Navy Pier. The whole running thing started when they delivered the Christmas trees, and the boat was parked there right by the park we play, and it blew its whistle, and he ran to our front door, across the street, all the way down by Navy Pier.
Okay.
So I think that started things. He was afraid there for a while, and then I took him to Minnesota. We hung out with my brother for a while at his place in the suburbs, and he seemed to settle down. Now he's not so startled by the noises, but you know, if that thing blew again, and and maybe fireworks outside. We've not been outside, but doesn't seem to be bothered inside. So.
Right, because it's a different environment.
Yeah.
So like, just imagine you're out, 4th of July is coming up. Usually the fireworks start around the week of.
Yeah.
And you're out with him and someone blows up a firework and he starts to get spooked and he starts running, right? You always want to think in that scenario. So you're already at a disadvantage because he's 10 pounds over the collar, okay?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then you have the stressor of the firework and you're having to override all these things. So that's why whenever we're doing these consultations, like I'm looking at the dog, I'm assessing the personality type, I'm also thinking emergency situation, and then I give you choices. And I'll say, this is what your dog technically falls under, but I might suggest this just in case an emergency happens. It's kind of one thing off your plate that you're not having to worry about, okay? So with a guy like him, he's probably at a medium to high output range, and I'll give you your options. How long ago did you purchase that collar?
Probably, I cut it, so I knew I was owning it no matter what.
Okay.
I bought it maybe two months ago, 3 months ago when he was running.
Okay. So my advice to you is try to sell it.
Okay.
Trust me, it's not a good collar. Like it's good in the sense that it is more, because there's cheaper models that the way the stem is delivered is more of like a shock than it is a contraction. So are you familiar with TENS therapy at all? Yeah. That's what an e-collar is. A professional level e-collar is essentially a miniaturized TENS unit, okay? So it's just the muscle contraction, okay? So that collar does fall under that category. There's other collars that are cheaper, they're like $80. And they'll say like 100 levels, whatever, right? It sounds good. But the way it's delivered is different. So like I felt them, and I remember I felt one, it was 4 out of 100. And when the owner shocked me, my hand went like this, and I was like, one, if that's 4 out of 100, I don't want to know what the other levels are.
Right? Exactly.
And the second thing was for about 10 to 15 minutes, I could feel just like a weird sensation, and it's because of how the stem is delivered. Okay, so that's a cheaper type, and it's a totally different kind of circuitry and system. Okay, so professional level e-collars are a contraction. After the contraction is done, your dog shouldn't feel anything. Okay, so like if you put the collar on them, you would see like this area kind of twitching. That tells you we have contact. Okay. So the other thing is we're hitting the summer. The body heat can override the e-collar as well. Okay, so for instance, I was working with a client, their number was like 35-ish. It was hot, it was like, what was it, like Thursday or something? By the end of the session, the dog's number was like 95. Okay, so 60 levels higher. But the dog was responding like it was 35. And the owner's like, why is the dog not yelping? And I go, because your dog is so hot, and the body and the discomfort from the heat itself is overriding the collar. So it's kind of like if you have like 2 injuries, you're gonna feel the one that's worse. Right? So if the dog is really, really hot, because these guys are super sensitive to the heat, it's gonna overpower the remote, okay? So since that's a lower output collar, you could be on 7 and he's still not listening just because it's simply hot. Okay?
I mean, I like the idea that it made a noise first, but I guess, do you tend to use that or not really?
No.
Okay.
So that's a very common thing. Is there's tone and vibration, and then there's the stem. The stem being the actual contraction. We don't do warnings. Okay, and this is why. Let's say you tell him come, he doesn't, you tone, he still doesn't come, you tone again, he doesn't come, and then you remote. You've now created a delay. So let's apply that to an emergency. He takes off, you want him back, you call him, but it's tone, remote. He's gonna know or think I have to, I have this delay.
To go, right.
Or if he's running towards the street, maybe he's running with his dog friends and one dog decides to take off towards the street and he's used to tone, remote, is we always kick in with remote immediately. So the reason why our dogs are this is because they wanna beat the punch. Okay, so it's a sit tap, down tap, come tap, heel tap, everything's tap. So dog goes, if I say sit, boom. Ha, you can't tap me because I sat too fast, right? Come tap, right? You can't tap me because I came too fast. We want it to become a game where they're like incentivized to beat the punch. Okay, so you don't, everybody, the whole theory of give the dog the opportunity to avoid the consequence is actually not good. It makes the person feel good.
Exactly.
But when you're in a situation of, holy crap, I need my dog to respond now, that's where it becomes a problem. Because if 98% of the time you're practicing, you have an opportunity, right? And then that one time you need your dog to actually do it,
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's 100% of the time you do it immediately. So should we find ourselves in an emergency situation, I'm not worried about delay.
Okay.
My dog's gonna have that immediate response,
Yeah.
okay? So the only thing we use the vibrate for, because the collars that we use only have a vibrate function,
Yeah.
is to test if the collar's on.
Okay.
So like, let's say you're working with him, you're at 100, he's not responding, you grab the box, you hit vibrate, it's not vibrating, it turned off, it ran out of battery,
Yeah.
you forgot to turn it on, whatever. That's the only thing we use the vibration for, is
Yeah.
to double check if the collar is on.
Okay.
Other than that, in my opinion, it has no use, unless I'm working with like a deaf dog.
Yeah.
Okay, if I have a deaf dog, obviously they can't hear us, we need
Yeah.
some form of communication, that's where the vibrate comes into play,
Okay.
okay? Other questions?
No, I think that's good.
So with the professional level collars, or professional grade collars with 127 levels, again, like we can just fine tune it to him, right? Also, it's streamlined. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 127. Other collars, and I'm not sure if that, because there's different types of sport dogs,
Yeah.
that you have low setting,
Yeah.
and then you have 7, you have medium setting, then 7, and then you have high setting, and then 7.
Yeah.
But what the problem is, you have to go between settings.
Yeah.
So like, again, emergency.
Yeah, you can't
If
do
you're
that.
on low, and it's like, well, now I gotta fiddle with this, put on high, and then I gotta dial it. Whereas with ours, if the dog takes off and I just have to crank it, I'm getting high
Oh,
power
yeah.
right off the bat, right?
Okay.
And I've been doing this for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of crazy stories from people.
I bet.
You know, I had a client, we had 2 classes. We were going to cover recall or come by the 3rd class, but between the 2nd to 3rd class, their dog took off on them.
Oh.
Okay, so they're at the park, those Trebs here in Lincoln Park, and it's a big park, but there's little gates that the dogs can get out. So their dog took off because he saw his dog friend across the street.
Right.
So the lady just stopped and fly, and she tapped the collar out at 127 continuous, which is the harshest correction you can do. And her dog just like yipped and 180 right back to her.
Oh.
Okay? So when I saw her the next time, she was like, hey, by the way, this happened. I don't know if I screwed things up. And I said, no, I was like, because it was a gamble.
Yeah.
It was either you don't do anything,
And he runs across the street, right?
exactly, or you gamble trying to get him back. Either way, if he runs in the street, it was going to happen regardless, right? But in her case, she was able to get him back. I had another client, we only had 1 class in between the 1st class and the 2nd class. Their dog was dog aggressive. It was very early in the morning, so they had their dog at the same park. I train a lot of dogs in that area. And the like arch nemesis walked into the dog park
Yeah.
and then started charging their dog. And then their dog started charging response.
Yeah.
Saying the guy just jacked it up like 90 something and tapped the dog. Dog stopped what they were doing, which allowed them to get their dog and then stop the other dog, okay? So it's nice to just have a very streamlined, like straight to if I need to go there.
Yeah.
It's not like all these configurations, okay? When it comes to like the length of time and cost and stuff, it really just comes down to like how much you want to achieve with your
Right.
dog.
Yeah.
If you could have like the life that you wanted with your dog, like what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, I don't know, I was starting to get my hands hurt because when he was in, like, right before we got neutered, he's pulling and pulling and pulling. So
Mhm.
I know I went to a harness because I was worried that I was choking him,
Sure.
like there was the, but you know, now I'm thinking I need to go back to like some kind of collar that's gives him feedback because he
Mhm.
still kind of tugs. Like it's just hard on my hands. So now what I'm doing is just wrapping the leash around my body.
Mhm.
And you know, I'm not spending the time to make him heal. I think if I did that, he would be better, but he still like tugs up. In a perfect world, that's what I'd like. Like he just walks with me. I don't have to worry about when I let him off, let him go and do whatever. When I call him, he comes. For the most part, he does that now, but I'd like him to respond even when he has a ball and leave it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
So we have heal, we have leave it, we have recall,
Yeah.
right? Come and call.
yeah.
I mean, would you ever take him to a restaurant where you would just hang out with you and like?
Yeah, so he's not bad. Like I think as he's gotten older, he's settling down. Like before he was crazy.
Mhm.
And we tried, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago to go over to a restaurant and I'm just like, he's pulling too much. Like he's all over the place. I
Mhm.
can't deal with that. So yeah, that'd be sweet.
Okay, because when it comes to remote collar, our ceiling is like very, very high.
Okay.
Okay, it's like almost as if there's no ceiling. The only time the ceiling really comes into play is behaviorally.
Yeah.
Like I can't make a dog that's antisocial social.
Yeah.
You know, we have exercise, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
But obedience is simple because it's a mechanical response. When I call you, get over here. When I tell you to lay down, don't move, just do it, right?
Yeah.
So the obedience stuff with, especially with like the average social dog is very easy, and you can get as much control as you want.
Okay.
So you're like in the range of 6, 9 to 12 classes.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll kind of break them down for you.
Okay.
So think of 6 classes as walk my dog, go to the park.
Yep.
9 is walk my dog, go to the park, go to restaurants.
Yeah.
And then 12 is all that stuff. Plus he goes to the dog beach. He's going to be hiking with you.
Yeah.
He's going to be off leash in a lot of unenclosed areas.
Yeah.
He goes to friends' houses. Like he's going to live his life with you and your family.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like the complete control.
Yeah.
All these commands. So there's 6 basic obedience commands: sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. So 6. Okay.
Yep.
All those commands are meant to be functional. So like right now, earlier when you came in, you just kind of made him sit, and then you got up and you made him sit, and he will like settle for a bit, but then he gets bored and he pops up and starts doing his thing, right? Yeah. So once you told him down, like he would lay down and not move for 2 to 3 hours until you gave him permission of now you can get up and be free.
Wow,
okay, so these commands are meant to be functional.
Yeah.
I think now because of the positive reinforcement front, they're seen as like tricks that your dog does, but they're meant to like functional.
Right.
Okay, so paw, roll over, like we don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's just fun stuff.
Yeah.
But those 6 are meant to be functional, but it's like which ones are going to apply to you. Okay.
Right.
So if you do 6 classes, we focus on the heel. That's always the first thing that we cover.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why we cover heel is because leash pulling is one of the most common things that people want to address.
Yeah.
Another thing is we deal with a lot of behavioral cases. So leash reactivity, lunging and barking towards dogs is a very common behavior.
Yeah.
It's chewing on your
Yeah,
back.
make it out.
It's a very common behavior that people want to address as well. So heel is the command that resolves those issues. Okay. It also helps teach a dog how pressure turns on and off. Pressure being your e-collar. So every time this happens, that's what we would call pressure.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I tell him sit, the pressure goes on, and the moment he gives me the sitting position, the pressure goes off.
Yeah.
So then he thinks, oh, okay, if I hear this word and I do this, the pressure goes away. Okay, so that's how we layered it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we always start with the heel, because if you put an e-collar on a dog and you press the button, a dog's first instinct is typically flight.
That's my worry.
Yes. Okay. So it makes the dog move.
Yeah.
So heel is a moving behavior. You're walking with your dog. So it allows you to put him under pressure. He tries to run away, maybe. We work him through it. We teach him don't run away from the collar. Run to me instead.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we use that to shape everything afterwards. Okay. So heel is always the first thing that we teach. Plus, most people walk their dogs at least 3 times a day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
So it's something you're practicing 3 times a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
So let's say he acts or responds stressfully to the collar, which is not uncommon because it's a stressor.
Yep.
Is continued exposure is what gets the dog over it.
Okay.
Okay. So when people see their dog under stress, our instinct is typically to back off.
Yeah.
When I go, no, you gotta work the dog through it because then if something
Otherwise,
stressful happens, you have unreliable obedience, right? So the heel, again, you do 3 times a day, 7 days a week. You're repeatedly exposing him to it, and he gets over that stressor. You know, so if somebody studies to be like a paramedic, they see all sorts of crazy stuff, right? I'm sure the first kind of month or so is like
shocking, right?
Exactly, but then you get used to it, and all of a sudden they just do their thing, right? Same thing for dogs. So we're not exposing them to that stressor. We're trying to be nice. You're actually doing a disservice to the dog and yourself and your obedience. Okay.
Yeah.
So we always start with the heel to work the dog through things. Every dog's turnaround time is different.
Okay.
I had one dog, it was actually a Bernedoodle. He was shaking like a leaf, right? Like the first day. Came back a week later, nothing.
Okay.
Right? And I've had other dogs that are very timid, and then 2 months later, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it takes time, there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
All comes down to the owner.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people lay off of things and they go, don't do that, like it's gonna make things more difficult, okay? So, first thing I always teach is the heel. That's typically 2 classes. By the 3rd class, we jump into recall. Okay? So heel is the fastest thing that we teach because you practice so many times a day. Recall is the longest because you gotta go to the park, pop them on a long leash, let them be a dog, and find opportunities to practice. Okay? So that I try to get that in as soon as possible, so that right away you're just going off and doing your
I did
thing.
that for a while after he started running. I put him on a long leash, and I mean it did seem to help somewhat. right? But-
Yeah, so with the remote collar, the long leash is there, so that in case he makes the wrong decision,
Yeah.
you have your security.
Yeah.
But at some point, you're gonna be off the long leash.
Yep,
And then you can take it wherever.
Yeah.
And then, so if you do 6, we focus on the recall, we focus, in the heel and the recall. They're usually 2 and 2, okay? 2 classes, which leaves classes 5 and 6, okay? Now, if you're doing your homework
Yeah.
and you're drilling things,
Yeah.
it's really straightforward. And then by class 5 and 6, you're like, hey, everything's going great. What else can we learn?
Okay.
I teach more stuff.
Yeah.
So then we can teach what we call, I don't have one in here, we usually have a dog bed.
Yeah.
It's called the place command.
Yeah.
Place means go here and don't move.
Yeah.
So if you go to the restaurant, plop down a towel, place, he goes there, he can sit, he can stand, he can lay down. He just cannot step off of the area.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a stationary command. So then you can take him places and not have to worry about him kind of doing this
Yeah.
back and forth because of the boredom.
Right.
He's just gonna stay put, and you can have your lunch, brunch, dinner, whatever,
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
family, 2 hours, an hour, whatever, he's there, okay? So as long as you're doing homework, I keep teaching stuff.
Yeah.
I don't say like, well, you only get this within your program,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
If you do a 9-week program, we'll most likely cover the 6th command, sit, stay down, come, place, heel. It's just how far do we get you in your training, okay? Meaning how advanced are they?
Yeah.
So the only command that needs to be reliable is the off-leash reliable is the recall.
Yeah.
All the other 5 commands, it's really personal preference.
Okay.
But recall has to be off-leash reliable, otherwise it's pointless.
Yep.
Right? And then the 12-week program is we build all 6 commands to off-leash reliability.
Okay.
He's funny. Okay. So like the heel, the down, all that stuff is all meant to be, if you're doing remote collar, can be built to that degree.
Stop.
It just takes time and practice, okay? Questions on any of that stuff so
No,
far?
I mean, I think I saw a lot of that online, and
Mhm.
that was, I really like the idea of not having a leash all the time,
Mhm.
and I do like the idea of him listening.
Sure.
He is sweet, but.
Yeah, no, I like his personality, his little goof.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna take away from this, by the way.
Yeah.
Because people always ask that, like, oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
dog's personality gonna change? No, I'm like, your dog is just more structured.
Right.
So, if I say heel, the dog's on the hip,
Yeah.
right? And then they're like, but are they gonna be happy? I'm like, don't worry about that. Yes, he'll be happy, he's outside, he's just gonna be under control.
Yeah.
So it's like kids at school, when they're at school, they're learning.
Yeah.
There's none of this running around stuff unless they're on recess,
Mhm.
So same thing for these guys, when we do obedience, I always tell people, think of it as like clocking them into work. When they're clocked in, they're to
They got
perform
it.
that, and then when you tell them break, they're free to run around and be a dog.
Yeah.
So, let me think here. The training is very straightforward, it's very common sense based, very logical, okay? So because of COVID, I've had to change how I operate.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, I would go to all my clients, I was home to home,
Yeah, yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
COVID happened, and then
Yeah.
people were like, don't come to our home.
Yeah.
So then I started working at Oz Park.
Park, I saw
Yeah.
that,
Are
yeah.
you familiar with Oz?
I'm not familiar with Oz, but I saw the park, yeah.
Correct. So Oz Park is actually the busiest park in Chicago.
Oh, yes, no, I do know, it's got all the,
Yeah.
statues, yeah.
Ton of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Skateboarders, rollerbladers, bikers, strollers, family
Yeah.
parties, off-leash dogs.
It's like Navy Pier, yeah, that's what
It's
it is.
crazy busy, correct, yeah. So it allowed us to work outside, but then we were in the midst of like all this
Crazy.
craziness.
Yeah.
And then people are getting the reliable obedience.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because most places, and we operate out of here as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I get clients that come from the suburbs and
Yeah.
that they don't want to do an extra distance, so we'll train here.
Yeah.
And regardless of where we train within my facility or the environment, it doesn't matter. We're still going to get functional obedience. But for the client, a lot of people like being out there
Yeah.
while everything's going on and
Yeah.
training because they're getting hands-on experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't need to touch your dog.
Okay.
Okay, I show up, you have them with your collar, your leash and everything. I coach you and I instruct you through everything.
Yeah.
Everything is you hands-on.
Yeah.
Okay, so nothing is tied to me.
Yeah.
Because that was one drawback prior, was that I would train the dog in front of you to
Yeah.
give you a visual,
Right.
but then I did all the hard stuff.
Yeah.
So then when I give the dog back to you, if you had a problem later on, it was harder for you to correct because
Yeah.
you had never done it.
Yeah.
So here, if there is any kind of a issue, I work you through it. And then you kind of just learn and develop that skill.
Okay.
Because after you're gone and done with the training, like, you need to be able to think on the fly,
Yep.
right? Something happens and you're like, I have this tool, this is what I know, this is what I can do, okay? Is I want all my clients leaving, being able to like think like me, just kind of on the fly, figure something out.
So COVID was good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People love it.
Yeah.
They're like, the verbal instruction is great, because most trainers insist on let me work with your dog. And I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, I've already trained thousands of dogs over 10 years.
Right.
I don't need more experience.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's very simple, very straightforward. Everything kind of just stacks on each other.
Okay.
We're not looking for like super fancy, we're looking for functional.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've removed all the stuff you don't need.
Okay.
All you need is your dog, your leash, and your e-collar.
Yeah.
That's it, okay?
Perfect.
We don't need to use food.
Yeah.
If for whatever reason, like let's say I see he's more insecure
Yeah.
in response to the collar, we may incorporate it.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be till later on to help balance out the training.
Okay.
But 98% of the time, we don't use food.
Okay.
It's all through the remote, which is leash pressure.
Yeah.
Questions on any of that?
No, I mean, that's how I got him semi-trained, is he loves treats, right? So that's the other thing, like now he just goes and he begs to everybody in the park.
Mm.
But he's really good about it now. Now he doesn't jump as much. He
Mhm.
sits in
Sure,
front
because
of
he's
the
waiting
tent.
for it.
And then, the bad thing is they give it to him, and I've not stopped it, but I think that'll probably need to happen. Because all he does is he doesn't play. He just goes around, like visits all the people, and they give him treats, and then he goes on to the next one, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a little
smart,
better.
yeah.
So like, what's nice about the remote collar is like, let's say he tries to jump
That's
on
what I
something.
was doing, yeah.
You can correct him now.
And that's the big thing, right?
Yeah, because I mean, if he jumps and on something they're not expecting it, he can knock him down.
Right.
He can knock a child down.
Exactly.
Because he's not differentiating.
Yeah.
So all that stuff you can prevent and or stop as it's happening.
Yeah.
One of the most common questions I get is like, when does the e-collar go away?
It doesn't, right?
When you need it, it doesn't.
Okay.
Which means if he's a great dog in the house, you don't
Oh,
need
yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay,
You
so
know?
usually I don't. Yeah, I usually take off all his collars in the house. So
Yeah.
we typically leave this on.
No.
Okay.
So like, if he's a great dog in the home, you don't need it.
Yeah.
But like whenever you're outside on a walk, if he's going to be off leash, if going to the dog park, whatever,
Yeah.
because there's variables.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the I guess I don't know if it's like it's just an old just a misconception, but people will comment around like, when does a dog learn to be a good dog? Right? And I go, but that's not a thing.
Yeah.
That's a human thing, right? Because that's how humans would learn, right? So like I could say something and hurt someone's feelings and then see that and go like, man, I didn't like how that made that person feel. I don't like the guilt that I got in response. I'm not gonna say that again. I'm not gonna do that again, right? And I can become a better person.
Yeah.
Dogs don't do that. So he goes by, oh, you called me, can you make me return?
Right.
Okay, so if you're out the park and stuff, he's got his collar on. It doesn't mean you're always using it. If you've done your training, he should just do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
But like my pit hates fireworks. She gets super anxious and she gets very flighty.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was walking out here in Logan Boulevard, and it was like August, October, it happened to me twice. I was walking my dogs, they were on the leash, no e-collar because they weren't gonna be off leash. And somebody popped the firework. And my pit just freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like pulling, and I'm like trying to manage her, and I'm like, crap, I'm like, I wish I had an e-collar, because then I could right away just settle her back down, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't thinking in August and October,
Yeah,
people's gonna
that
set off
happened.
fireworks, right?
Right.
So same thing for this guy, let's say you're out, and then all of a sudden the boat blows a horn.
Yeah.
And he takes off, and it's like, well, you weren't planning on that, right?
Mhm.
Remote kicks in. So remote allows you to regain control even in situations where you've lost control.
Yeah, I'll
right?
always have it because we live right by it's crazy over there. There's always people, doesn't
Yeah.
matter the season, and there's stuff that goes on. So I think once we get used to it, it'll just be part of like.
Yeah, it's
put it
the,
on, right?
yeah, and what you would be using, so actually your harness promotes pulling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it gives them more pulling power because it's here.
Yeah, I tried doing it before. It's a pain in the ass for me. Right, like attach this on the bottom part.
Oh, sure.
They have that like.
Yeah, where it
flaps.
deters the
Yeah,
power,
it's-
yeah. But in the meantime, like what you're using is fine.
Okay.
Once you go to remote, you would just be remote flat collar and leash, that's it.
Okay.
You don't clip the leash to the remote collar,
Yeah.
because if you do, it'll
Yeah,
inhibit the contact, correct? You would just use your regular flat collar.
And so I have to buy another one because he chewed this when we left him. So do you think I should buy another like harness, or should I stick with like
The flat collar.
Okay.
Yeah, once you get, like, do what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Once you start your training, you can switch to,
I started with this.
oh
right?
yeah, like a martingale?
Yeah.
That's fine. My only issue with this, man,
Yeah.
would be the snap buckle here.
Yeah.
Make sure, yeah, this is fine. So, just as FYI for you, this one's okay because there's no slack here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen those collars that you can size to the dog, right?
Yeah.
Is what ends up happening is that this tends to wear,
Yeah.
and it'll increase the size.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the owner's constantly adjusting it.
Yeah.
The other thing is dogs can also break this class.
Oh.
Okay, so like let's say one day you were to just jolt and put a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
it can break. Okay,
So,
but
use a metal one or?
I use like the belt buckle type collars, just a regular flat buckle collar.
Yeah.
Those are the most secure.
Okay.
This one is fine in the sense that it's not going to get any bigger than this.
Yeah, that is max. So-
Okay, and I was gonna say, does this fit his neck even?
I don't know, I'd ask you that now. I think he's due for a haircut, it's okay.
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
There you go.
so I think this is good, because it still can shrink down on him, and it doesn't seem like it's really choking him, like he can breathe, but.
You can use that collar, it's fine.
Okay.
My only concern when I saw it was that if it had more give,
Yeah,
and then other than that, it doesn't have give, it's just a buckle.
Yeah.
But once he's trained, like it's really not gonna be a
Use that
factor.
much, okay.
Yeah, it's just there to clip something too.
yeah.
Okay, other questions?
No, I think that's pretty good. So how frequently do you do like the classes? So once you start enrolling in a class, I assume I'm with other dogs in that class? No, okay, so not one. Oh, so we could do it as frequent as we needed to.
So usually it's once a week.
Okay,
So like, let's say, what's today, Saturday, and it's what, like 11?
yeah.
Let's say Saturday at 11 was open, okay? Maria would book that time with you,
I'll stay here.
and let's say you did like a 6-week program. 11 o'clock on Saturday for 6 + 1, so 7 weeks is your time.
Oh,
No
okay.
one's gonna take it from you, okay? So every week I would meet with you.
Yeah.
So like, let's say you have to cancel, you got sick, something, you have to travel. By the time you hit the 7th week, let's say you have 2 classes left over, you will have used what we call your priority,
Yeah.
okay? Because evenings and weekends are my craziest
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
okay? So then if you use up your priority, Maria will reach out, she's like, hey, you used up your time, we have to book another client, starting the following week. You have 2 classes left. What's your availability? And then you would just plug in your classes and we would wrap up the program, okay? Otherwise, if you meet with me every Saturday at 11 for 6 classes, we would just do straight through, okay? So it's once a week for an hour.
Okay.
Every now and then I get a client that's like a rotating schedule, and they
Yeah.
don't have a set schedule, then I tell them that's fine. But there might be times where I don't see them for 2 to 3 weeks because our calendars just don't line up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any impact on the training, okay? It's more beneficial.
Because you get more practice.
You get more practice, so when the owner comes back, because this, after your first class, you're gonna be like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yeah,
It's very quick, it's very efficient, it's very effective.
okay.
Is that, if I don't see it for 2 weeks, they just come back with 2 weeks worth of information for me, and we just build on that,
Yeah.
okay? Otherwise, we just do week by week
Yeah.
to keep things consistent. If you do a longer program, like a 12-week program, what usually happens is once we get to class 9 or 10, you'll have all the information and we will have taught all the commands to build towards off-leash.
Okay.
Now you need time,
Yeah.
okay? So if we keep it week by week and it's like raining or it's snowing or something, your intention may be to practice every day,
Yeah.
but you may not be able to.
Right.
I'll tell my clients, you got everything. Now it's proofing, making mistakes. He makes mistakes. Where are we struggling? Where are we having issues? You take 2 weeks, you take a month, you take 2 months, I don't care. Then you come back for like class 11 or 10 or whatever. And you're like, hey Jesse, everything's going great, but we still struggle with this.
Yeah.
And we focus on that. I see you in another few weeks or a month or whatever you decide.
Okay. Yeah.
And then by the 12th class, it's like, okay, cool, we're at a point where you're like 95% on the way of off-leash reliability. Because it's not just the dog, it's the handler,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So like I have a client, she just wrapped up a program 2 weekends ago. Her dog was very dog reactive. She would have to leave like at 5 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
to like avoid dogs,
Right.
And then now she's like, Jess, this is amazing. I walk my dog whenever, wherever. I can take him off the leash now and all that stuff. But she had lots of hesitancy about taking him off leash.
Yeah.
So like, she would do it like in controlled areas.
Yep.
But we were at Alice Park and she's like, I don't know. And I was like, take the leash off, right? If you're gonna do it now. I'm here. And her dog did great.
Oh, good.
She's like, she needed,
The confidence.
exactly, and she needed to see it.
Yeah.
And then have me there just in case. But then she walked, she's like, oh wow, she's like, I can see that. I just need a little bit more myself. but my dog is technically already there.
Yeah.
Because there's always that distrust factor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Plus she had the reactivity stuff, so her concern was like, well, I don't want a dog coming over here and there being a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're doing like a 12-week program, typically about class 9 or 10, I'll give you the option. You can by all means finish your program
Okay.
and just go week by week.
Yeah.
Or you can take the time to practice and then just come back when you're ready.
Okay.
I had a client, they did like 9 classes last year, like in the summer of last year, and then I just had their 10th class yesterday.
Oh, good.
Not yesterday,
Yeah.
last weekend.
That's fun.
Okay, so they had a whole like half a year
Yeah.
to just practice everything or whatever.
Yeah.
Now we're just kind of tailoring like little bits that they're missing.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions?
No, I think like for us, like because we bought a place out about an hour from here, so on the weekends it's probably not going to be good. But I'm a professor, so I have a little bit of flexibility in my schedule. So maybe during the week I could sneak in like early, like late afternoon maybe, or I don't know how early do you tend to start.
I start my days at least on the weekdays at 10.
Okay.
Because I do transports for the my
Okay.
daycare dogs, so I pick up dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, the earliest I start is 10 a.m.
Okay.
And if you have daytime availability,
Yeah.
it's easier to get you on the schedule.
Of course.
Okay, because my schedule is reversed. I'm
Right,
usually
everybody
evenings.
else, yeah.
Exactly, everybody's 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So if you let Maria know that,
Okay.
it's easier to get you on during the week
Okay.
sooner.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a weekend or evening time, that's going to be a bit of a wait.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so that you're aware, and I know that you said weekdays are better for you, would be, I think currently, the last I heard from Maria is we're booking new clients starting in July now.
Okay.
Potentially even early August.
Yeah, that'd be
just
fine.
to give
That'd
a
actually be
buffer.
better because then we travel less and would.
Oh, sure, yeah. So you can book your time and book it ahead of time, and that actually makes everything easier, because, right, if you're trying to get in sooner,
Right.
obviously you're trying to contend with everybody else that's already,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind like having 1 or 2 lessons and then spacing it out through the rest of, not the rest of summer, but like while we travel.
Mhm.
So then this way at least I work on the heel, I work on the recall, because I think those are the key to.
Absolutely. Those are the 2 most important commands. Yeah. Everything else I tell people is superficial.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to use it, there's no point to it.
Yeah, no, we will, but I just think that's the priority, and like we have to schedule around life. Right?
Sure. But when it comes to the release command, very
Yeah.
simple, not worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't really talk about it much.
Yeah.
Very simple with remote collar
Yeah.
to get a dog to release something.
Yeah.
It just takes time and practice to
Yeah.
get it to a point where it's reliable. That command, you kind of want to be reliable even without the remote collar.
Yeah.
Just because like if he's in the house and he picks up like something he shouldn't eat.
He listens better in the house.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just really when we're out and then it's a chase and it is a game, no matter how much I try to like go away, I try everything, so.
Sure.
it's-
When it comes to the remote collar that he needs,
Yeah.
there's 2 models you technically fall under.
Okay. No, I'll forget.
For sure. One of them is the Dog Truck 2300,
Dog, what was it?
DOG-TRA,
Okay.
2300. It's meant for 70-pound dogs and under. So,
What was the number?
2300.
It's okay.
It's meant for 70 pounds and under. So he's got a good gap in that range. It's a 3/4 mile range collar, fully waterproof system, both the transmitter and the receiver.
Cool.
So plenty of range for the average family pet.
Yeah.
The next one would be the Dog Truck Black Edition.
Okay.
So same, brand, just different model, Black Edition.
Yeah.
It's meant for 70 pounds and over. Okay. The only reason why I suggest the Black Edition is because I believe it's only like $45-ish more, and it's the best collar they have.
Okay.
1 mile range, fully waterproof system, 70 pounds and over, and I can use it on my 8-pound Chihuahua,
Yeah.
and it's perfectly safe.
Okay.
It just gives you more from less.
Right.
So in case of an emergency, you want to also think like if he's a thicker coat,
Yeah.
like he hasn't been groomed yet,
Yeah.
you have to get to the coat,
Yeah.
you have to get to the body heat, you have to get to the stress of the situation. It's just again one thing less to have to worry about. But you technically fall underneath either one of those. If he was like 60 or 65 pounds, I wouldn't even bring up the other collar to see
Yeah,
Black
just
Edition
Black
because you're so close to the
Okay.
70 pound.
Yeah.
But you have a window, okay?
Okay.
What's nice about the 2300 is it is expandable.
Okay.
So if you decide to get a second dog, you
Yeah.
don't have to buy a whole new
Right.
system.
Yep.
As long as the dog is underneath that 70-pound range, you just buy a second collar for that particular model.
Okay.
And now you have a 2-dog system.
Yeah.
For the black edition, you'd have to buy a whole separate black edition or whatever system for the second dog.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
We were talking about that, but man, we'd have to live outside of the city because potty training him down 29 flights.
Oh, sure, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, not familiar.
Yeah, we were on board. Like, we were like, oh, we'll wait till 6 months. And then when 6 months came, we're like, no, he's still a handful.
Yeah. Yeah, so having.
But I'd like another one at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, so that's just something that may, be a factor for you.
Yeah.
The 2300 is expandable.
Okay.
The black edition is not.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions?
No, it's just I shouldn't try any of these before I were to see you.
The e-collar stuff?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, yeah.
Okay.
Because if, you're not gonna know how to fix it essentially.
No.
But, like, if we see something, I'll help you
Okay.
work through it and fix it.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Nope. That's pretty good.
Let me think here. If you, in the meantime, if you want to buffer and not have to worry about like the pulling stuff,
Yeah.
the next best thing is what's called a gentle leader.
Okay.
It goes over the snout and
Oh, I
there's
saw that, yeah.
and a clip. So the reason why that's more effective is because it's like a horse bridle.
Yeah.
So for horses, they were harnesses
Yeah.
to pull the carriage,
Right.
but the driver has the bridle
Yeah.
to control the head.
Yeah.
You control the head, you control the body.
Yeah.
So it gives you much more leverage over him,
Ah.
and he has far less pulling power because it's turning his head like this.
Right.
But you'd be able to control him physically with the leash. Okay. So that's what we use for our puppies under 6 months,
Ah.
because I don't start e-collar till 6 months.
Right.
So before then, I'll tell people gentle leader.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the front clip harness,
Yeah.
but the front clip harness still puts the dog at an advantage because it's still on the chest.
Yeah.
Whereas the gentle leader is on the face, okay? Otherwise, if you're fine with this, you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
The gentle leader won't do anything with the throat or anything like that. It's just
Yeah.
like a buffer in the meantime, okay?
Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah, I probably won't do that.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah.
He likes to drink, but he's out too.
That's fine. Other questions?
No, it's good.
So Maria will get in contact with you.
Okay.
She'll reiterate everything that I mentioned earlier. She'll give you your options.
Okay.
And then if you're thinking of doing a couple of classes and spacing them out,
Yeah.
just let her know.
Okay.
So this way she goes, okay, well then I'm not gonna put you for 6
Back
weeks
to
in a
back.
row or whatever. I'll just put you for the 2,
Okay.
and then you can always book even further.
And so if we bought 6, we can always add on the additional.
Right, so if you do 6,
Yeah.
the way we do this is you pay, I think 6 is 1,000.
Okay.
And then if you decide like, hey, this is great, you want another 6, it's another 1,000,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
So you pay 2 in total. Now, if you do 12 up front, it's I believe like 1,600 or 1,700 or something, right?
Right.
So, because you're already telling us, hey, I'm committed,
Right.
right? So then we go, well, then we give you a cheaper per class rate.
Yeah.
And it's more so because of the way the schedule works.
Yeah.
And they like booking people and the time and
Yeah.
stuff. Also, the way I approach the program is different.
Oh, okay.
Because if you're doing 12,
Yeah.
I know you want a fully off-leash trained dog.
Yeah.
Is that we teach everything in the beginning, and then we, towards the second half, start to transition towards off-leash. But if you do 6,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, we're doing 6, so I'm gonna tackle the heel and the recall, because those are the most important things.
Yeah.
Because the other stuff, as we teach more things, we create more problems.
Yeah.
So then for the longer program, you have me long enough to fix those problems as we teach new things and progress.
Yeah.
Whereas with the 6 weeks, if I teach something new at the end of the sixth class, and it's like you're struggling with it,
Yeah.
now it's
Right.
it's not gonna be effective.
Yeah, I'll probably, just from a finance perspective, start with 6. and
Sure.
If we want to do additional 6, we can try to think about
Yeah,
that.
whatever you want, like for me, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm at like 40 clients right now, so.
I know, I'm sure.
That's
I
great.
know, I can
And
tell,
every
I get
day,
it.
yeah,
Get it for
he's
this.
gone all day, now my other trainer.
Yeah.
I opened him up for the weekend, he just booked right away.
Yeah.
So, and he's taking my overflow.
That's good.
So, yeah, it's crazy right now, I think just because
I
of
know.
COVID and
Yeah,
everything. And
that's
I
right.
think everybody's trying to
Everybody
play
got a
catch up.
puppy, everybody got now they're out running around and it's crazy.
Yeah. So if anything else pops up, you let us know. If
Okay.
you forgot to ask anything, just
Okay.
let Maria know.
Okay,
Otherwise, she'll get in contact with you and she'll reiterate everything I said.
okay.
Please give her about 5 to 7 business days.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because she's got everybody else, so it's kind of like you're back in line again, and now
Yeah.
you're back in line to like sign up and
Schedule.
like schedule and everything
Yeah.
like that, okay?
Okay.
Other
I
than
mean,
that,
it's not as serious, like I saw some of the videos that you did with some of the other dogs that have like behavioral issues. So
The
I do
aggression
feel
stuff,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah, I do feel guilty, like, I'm like, oh, they need to get in, but
Yeah.
I really appreciate the expertise and the e-collar, like, those are two big things. Hey.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, and as I get more trainers, I'm gonna start kind of pulling back from the
Yeah.
general stuff and then,
That'd be smart.
focusing on the, you know, like you said, the
behavioral.
cases that
That's
actually
really
need me.
expertise, yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
That's good.
But right now, I mean, I still have time for, and it's nice to get a dog like this, because
Yeah.
he's here. You know, that's
And
less
he is
stressful.
smart, like, he is a smart dog, for the most part, he's pretty good.
Yeah, the
So
Bernie
I think
Poodles.
I think he'll be responsive, I think this will work.
Yeah, I've not had a dog in over 10 years that I've not been able to train with e-collar. It's the most consistent tool.
Yeah.
The issue is the human
Yeah.
and how they feel about it and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's nice when someone just
Oh,
comes
yeah,
and
no, I
goes,
can
yes.
care that, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Awesome.
That's great.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank
Amy,
you.
right?
Yeah, Amy.
Yep. If you need anything else, like I said, let us know.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll be in contact with you, okay?
Oh, perfect.